Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. At AM 630.
WMAL. 8:37 on WMAL. Joining us right now, as he always does at this time on Tuesday, when we're lucky.
We're always lucky.
Larry Kudlow of CNBC. Hey, Larry, we just had a heated debate here, including many of the great listening public at WMAL over the prospects of having the Olympic Games here in Washington, D.C., setting aside the trouble with the traffic and everything in general in the modern era. Does this end up being an economic boom for an American city hosting the Olympics?
I thought we already had the Olympics in Washington.
No, we've never had an Olympics in Washington, D.C.
The political Olympics. The tax and spend Olympics.
There's that.
The regulatory Olympics. You want more?
All right. Point taken.
Well, the Olympics will probably help the Washington economy. Yeah, they probably will.
Right.
I don't know enough. You know, there's a bunch of guys out there who always write, and I think with good reason, that when you construct baseball stadiums or football stadiums, and, you know, you give subsidies from local government, that, yeah, the owners win. I guess the players win from big salaries, but the local shopkeepers don't win.
That was my larger point.
Yeah, that the money doesn't really, you know, quote unquote, trickle down, and I think there is a lot of evidence for that. Now, the Olympics is a grander venture because you're talking about even more stadiums. So I have to see some numbers on this, but the thought of making Washington even bigger and more powerful, wow, I think I have a problem with that.
All right. Let's shift over to you get to talk to these powerful CEOs and executives and great people who run these great businesses, and I wonder what their opinion would be if one of their employees, let's just call her Lois, couldn't come up with emails because their computer hard drive crashed and they had no backup. Would that, considering Lois works for us, should we be upset about this?
Well, the thing that interests me is, was she and her computer the only one in the entire IRS that broke down?
Yeah, she says that it was her hard drive. That's what she claims.
Do you think that's a bit odd? I mean, there was no systemic thing; it was just hers, or is she just the Rosemary Woods of our era? Yeah. For those youngsters that don't know who Rosemary Woods was, that was Richard Nixon's secretary who lost 18 minutes on a key tape. That was the computer glitch of its day in 1970.
I think Lois Lerner's computer failed after she took a sledgehammer to it. That's what I think, but it could be wrong.
Right. Well, I hope Lois Lerner doesn't run the Olympics. That's the only thing I'll say.
You brought us full circle. Well done.
All right. So, but on the grander scale, this email thing, does it bother you? Is it something that concerns you greatly? You mean you're finding a hard time believing the veracity of the story?
I don't believe any of it. I don't believe any of it. Never believed the word she said. I think that if the investigation is pursued properly, and I'm one of those guys that wanted a special counsel from day one to dig in with, potential criminal indictments, I still believe that's the right way to go. We are going to find out that she was, at the center of basically a conspiracy against these conservative groups. That's what I think. There was a conspiracy, and I think the conspiracy is very substantial, and it worked its way into the upper echelons of the IRS, and it worked its way into the upper echelons of the West Wing of the White House. That's always been my view. That continues to be my view. The question is how to nail her. How to nail her. And that's why I've gone, get a special counsel. Get a special counsel. That's the only way to do it. You got to threaten her with criminal jail, whatever.
Right.
I don't know. How else do you do it, John?
There's no other way. And they certainly, other than impeachment.
But you can't believe this story about the email breakdown. I mean, and look at the years. It just happened to be those key years when they were, basically trying to close down the Tea Party. I mean, that was really the story, to me, of 2011. All the shenanigans of the IRS and Lois Lerner and her friends happening in 2011 and 2012 was an effort to shut down the Tea Party groups that caused the revolution of Republican House in 2010. So they basically said, okay, we're going to shut it down, and this way the president will be reelected. And we're going to shut it down through these obscure provisions in the IRS tax code regarding tax-exempt groups. I've always believed that. And, sometimes even paranoids have real enemies, but that's my feeling, and it still is my feeling.
It's not paranoia if there really are people out to get you.
They are. I know.
All right, so listen, I want to talk to you about what's going on right now in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the jihadists are taking over the country, and many people say that the end result here in America will be it's going to cost you eventually a lot more money to fill up that tank for your big SUV.
Well, look, it might. I'm no expert on this. I don't think the jihadists are taking over the country. In fact, reading the papers, last night and this morning and so forth, I don't think they're even going to take over Baghdad. So that's a good thing. Now, they are going to have their own little caliphate up there, and we're going to have to do something about that. But as far as I can tell, just reading the papers, I don't know a thing that you don't know, that the oil fields in Kirkuk are basically held well by the Kurds, and the big oil fields down south in Basra are also guarded very well, and that's not where the ISIS is. So the price of oil is up, but it's not, it's not soaring right now. Was it $106, $107? I'm just looking at the quote today. Yeah, you're still at $106.50. So that's an uncertainty premium. That's not a take over the oil fields premium. But sure, is that a risk? I mean, we were talking about that. I was doing some commentary on CNBC yesterday. If you tell me oil is going to $150 a barrel for a good long while, I don't mean a week or two, I mean month after month after month, that's going to filter into gasoline prices. And you're going to run gasoline prices up to $5 or $6 a gallon, and that's going to be an economy killer. And there's no question about that.
Yeah.
I do have some questions about the probability of that happening. I don't know whose interest that's in, except the radicals, and the radicals can't get to it. So that's the way I look at it right now. But I may be wrong. Lord knows. I see my friend General Keane, who's in the paper today, and he has outlined a plan where we've got to put some forces on the ground for intelligence and planning and airstrikes, and we're going to have to use some airstrikes to take out the ISIS. I wish we didn't have to. I wish we'd be rid ourselves of this. But General Keane is a brilliant guy. I know him. He was one of the planners, along with Petraeus, of the surge. And maybe he's right. Maybe that's what we're going to have to do. I don't know. You tell me. This thing's up in the air.
Larry, I've only got 20 seconds. I'm sorry to do this to you, but real fast. Last time we had you on last week, we didn't even mention the Eric Cantor race because who saw that coming? Now they're jockeying for position for majority leader. Why do you think you're pretty locked in with a lot of these top Republicans? Why do you think Paul Ryan doesn't want that job?
Well, I think Paul's probably number one priority is to run the Ways and Means Committee and reform tax code and entitlements. I think that's his mission. Number two, I have not talked to him. Just want to say that I have not talked to him the last couple of weeks. I think he's also still looking at a possible presidential run, and I don't think he wants to get involved in a leadership position which would absorb all his time.
Good call. All right, thank you, Larry Kudlow. Great to have you as always. Enjoy the World Cup.
Appreciate it.